The fact that disabled people, because of their disabilities, have the legal right to bring their dogs with them everywhere, into every single public place, while people with phobias and allergies or PTSD due to being attacked by a dog or witnessing a dog attack, which are also classified as disabilities, have no legal right to avoid the presence of dogs, is a huge problem. It is outrageous. Why do dog owning disabled people have more rights than non-dog owning disabled people? I have been thinking a lot lately about service dogs, and I posted something to my community section a while ago. I wrote, legislation intended to prevent or reduce discrimination against the disabled has been hijacked to extend the encroachment of dogs into everyday life. When the ADA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act, was going through its consultation process and draft discussion, they would probably have had a lot of input from animal or dog organizations and charities pursuing their own dog-related interests. Not human-related interests, right? Dog-related interests. People interested in fair treatment of people with disabilities would be concentrating hard on that objective, making them blind to what the dog lovers were doing. The dog people would be looking at how far they could expand the interests of dog owners and the freedom of movement of dogs. There have been lots of articles about dogs on planes and fake service animals, and there must have been a lot of representation from people with genuine disabilities. Fake service animals and emotional support animals diminish the public perception of people with disabilities. The ADA will have to be amended through time. Listening to the advice of dog lovers when dealing with a human problem is like cartographers listening to the Like cartographers listening to the testimony of flat earthers when designing maps, or flood prevention engineers accepting the testimony of fundamentalist Christians because they know the story of Noah. So what I've been wondering is, how can we fight the ADA? How can we change the laws? Because I have been hearing a lot lately from friends and from viewers who have seen an increase of dogs in grocery stores and other public places where these animals do not belong because they are unhygienic. They pose a risk to the public, to public health and public safety. You know, I pulled up an article the other day. They were talking about how even within the disabled community, there is a lot of disagreement. There are a lot of people who choose to use a service dog without having explored all the other alternatives. You know, there's a large group of people in the disabled community who say that you should exhaust all your options before resorting to using a service dog, you know? And a lot of people don't do that. You know, there are so many alternatives to service dogs, but they don't explore those alternatives. And that's wrong. Like, maybe there are people out there who really do need a service dog because there really isn't any other option. I don't believe that. There are white canes. There are smart canes with GPS. There's echolocation. There are electronic devices that alert to low blood sugar and seizures. There's medication, therapy, meditation, mindfulness, grounding techniques, CBT, DBT. There is an endless list of techniques you can try and use. But look, this is what I want to say. I think that this is wrong. All you have to do is get a dog and say that you have trained it to help you perform some sort of task. And that's it. You can get your dog registered as a service dog. You can get the little vest to put on it, and you can bring it with you everywhere. There's no certificate. There's no, regulating body that you have to go. The dog doesn't have to go through any kind of test. On the U.S. Service Animal Registrar website, which is where Americans go to get their service dogs registered, you can click on Service Dog Training Test. What it is It's not a test. It is a list of statements that you're asked to read through. And if you believe that your service dog meets most of the criteria, simply click the checkbox at the bottom to continue to the final step and get your dog registered. Nobody is going to confirm that you're telling the truth. No one's going to actually look at your dog, test your dog, check it out, see if it actually, is well trained. Nobody is going to verify that you're telling the truth. And you're telling me that everybody who registers their service dog is telling the truth on this test? Give me a break. This is beyond ridiculous. And the craziest part of all this, as if this wasn't crazy enough, in order to determine if an animal is really a service animal and not just a pet, by law, you are only allowed to ask 2 questions. You can ask, number 1, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? And number 2, what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? You may not ask these questions if the need for the service animal is obvious. In addition, you may not ask about the nature or extent of an individual's disability. You may not require proof that the animal has been certified, trained, or licensed as a service animal. You may not require the animal to wear an identifying vest or tag. And you may not ask that the dog demonstrate its ability to perform the task or work. So tell me this. What is stopping people from lying about A, their disability, B, their need for a service dog, C, that their dog is an actual service dog that's been trained to perform a task? They could just make it up. And they don't have to prove it. You're not even allowed to ask them for proof. This is crazy. Crazy. I can't believe that this is reality. Am I dreaming? Even my dreams aren't this crazy. This is outrageous, and we need to fight this. We need to put a stop to this. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do this, but I have an idea. I don't know how we're going to get the ball rolling here, but this is what I did. I recently went on a whale watching tour. When I was booking my tour, I was concerned about the presence of quote-unquote service dogs on the vessel. I did not want to spend 4 hours on a boat with a dog. I don't like being around dogs. I have actually been seeing a therapist for the last 4 years to help me cope with my anxiety, depression, and emotional distress that exists because of the dog menace. Now, I don't have a phobia. It is not an irrational fear of dogs that cripples me. What it is I see dogs for what they are because I have been doing a lot of research. I've been reading a lot of reports of dog attacks, experiences of victims of dog attacks. I know what these animals are. I'm not deluded anymore like I used to be. I know that they are all unpredictable, bloodthirsty, remorseless predators. I know that it has nothing to do with how they were trained or raised. Because they are predators, they all retain the instincts of their wild ancestors. All it takes is a frenetic movement or a high-pitched noise to send them into predatory drift. I know that virtually all dogs, even dogs that are dewormed regularly, are infested with worms to some degree and shed parasitic eggs into the environment, which remain viable for months and can only be destroyed with blowtorches and are infecting people with parasites. Even service dogs, yes. And it really affects my mental health to know that my children, myself, elderly people, and it's not just about my own loved ones and myself. I have empathy, so when I hear stories of children being attacked by dogs, unprovoked, well-trained family dogs, highly trained service dogs, police dogs, I get very upset because it's just, heartbreaking to imagine what these children experienced, what their families are going through. It causes me a lot of distress. So because I am informed and aware, and because I have empathy, I have a lot of emotional distress. When I see dog owners ignoring leash laws, having no empathy for their neighbors, it infuriates and depresses me. I also have a sensitivity to barking. It really drives me crazy when I hear dogs barking. I've been seeing a therapist to help me cope with all of this emotional distress. So when I was booking this tour, I was thinking having a dog on board, and I might not be phobic. I'm not afraid of dogs, but I am averse to them. I don't like them. When I see them, I feel disgusted by their exposed anuses, by their drooling, by their dicks that stick out of their sheaths, by just their smell when they shake themselves and their dander that goes flying everywhere in their hairs. I don't want it landing on my sandwich. You know what I'm saying? They're disgusting, and I feel grossed out by them. And that disgust prevents me from enjoying myself. As it should any person in their right mind. I mean, if a human being was as disgusting as a dog pressing their exposed dirty anuses down on the library rug or on, seats on airplanes or taxis, scratching and shaking their heads violently, sending hairs and saliva flying onto you and your food, you'd be grossed out. But somehow, because you're a dog, your ass is not gross. Like, this is crazy. I see the craziness, and it drives me crazy. And there's a lot of talk online. My haters, they've started spreading this rumor that my husband is a therapist and that he's pulling the strings and he has influenced me, and that I clearly am not the brains behind my channel. I don't know how they came up with this. My husband, I have stated, does work in the medical field, but he is not a therapist. And I do see a therapist who agrees with me about dogs, but I influenced him, not the other way around. He thanks me. He says that I've really opened his eyes to the problem, and he agrees with me. So I don't know. I guess these are misogynists who just can't believe that women can be intelligent and come up with their own ideas. What's really weird about this U.S. Service Animal Registrar website is that when you're looking at it, you'll see in the bottom right corner, you're going to see it any second here. Wait for it. It's going to pop up this little orange thing. There it is. So-and-so has registered an emotional support animal in Maine, or so-and-so has registered a service animal in Nevada, whatever. Isn't that weird? What is up with that? I feel like this is not something you should see on a professional medical or legal website. This is something that I've seen when I was shopping for essential oils. When you're shopping, newsflash, look, Addison has registered a therapy animal in Delaware. Oh, I really needed to know that. Oh, let's all clap for her. So-and-so has put this into their basket. This is just so not in line with what this website is supposed to be about. It's like they're selling something. They've done it, so you better hurry and do it too. Get on the bandwagon. Well, they are selling something, aren't they? It costs money to register your service dog. All they want is your money. But anyway, so what was I saying? My husband, therapists. So yeah, I've been seeing this therapist, right, for 4 years. So when I was booking my tour, this is what I'm trying to get at. I told them, because I was thinking, I'm going to play the same game these dog owners play. They want to expand their dog's territory. I'm going to fight back and use their same tactics. They are going to claim they need a service dog because of some sort of disability. I'm going to claim that because of my disability, I need to avoid the presence of dogs. And this is not a lie. The dog menace causes me to feel depressed, anxious, disgusted, and angry, and this impairs me. It limits many of my major life activities. I do not have a phobia, which is classified as a disability, but I am disabled because my therapist will tell you that this condition I have severely affects my psychological and emotional well-being. It affects my ability to perform certain tasks, such as going to the beach. Whenever I go to the beach, I get very upset. My heart rate goes up. I start to sweat. I get a tightness in my chest. I get angry. I get confrontational because there are always dogs running around off leash, despite the no dogs allowed signs. The selfishness and entitlement of dog owners drives me crazy. It prevents me from enjoying myself. It prevents me from going hiking because the sight and smell of dog feces all over the hiking trails, and the sight of dogs off leash, the sight of dogs chasing and harassing wildlife makes me so upset that I don't want to go hiking anymore. I don't go hiking anymore. Many viewers of this channel are afraid to go walking in their neighborhoods because of roaming dogs, because of dogs that are not even roaming, dogs that are behind fences, that throw themselves into the fences and bark and threaten and harass them when they walk, and, could possibly jump over the fence or dig under the fence to attack them, injure them, or kill them. This is not an irrational fear. So I don't think it is a phobia. It is totally rational to fear an unpredictable, bloodthirsty, remorseless predator that can kill a grown man. But society doesn't recognize that yet. Thankfully, I don't have colleagues that bring their dogs to work. If I did, I would not be able to perform the tasks that are required of me. I would not be able to do my job. I would be too distracted by the dog's smell, by its intrusion, by its disgusting slurping noises when it licks its anus and genitals, by the way it shakes itself, shaking dander and hairs into the air. I would be too grossed out by its exposed anus pressing into the floor and the furniture. I would be so grossed out by the exposed penis, the way it drips smegma and semen all over the floor and furniture. If it's a male dog, I would be very on edge and concerned about getting my genitals or my rear end sniffed by the dog. I would be, concerned about being humped by the dog. I would be so upset by the owner's sense of entitlement and their assumption that everyone in the office should be okay with the dog's presence. All of this would be so upsetting and so distracting that I would not be able to perform the tasks required. I would not be able to get my job done. I did use the term phobia when I spoke with the tour operator because that's something they can understand. That is something society can recognize. In the future, society will recognize all of my other valid points, but society needs to catch up first. I thought, well, I'm gonna do what I have to do to make this trip enjoyable for myself. So I'll use language that they can understand. I said, I have a disability. I have a phobia, I said, of dogs, and it requires me to avoid the presence of dogs. I have been seeing a therapist for the past 4 years. I have his phone number if you would like to confirm this with him. But if I'm going to go on this tour, I need to avoid the presence of dogs. There cannot be a dog on board. So therefore, if someone shows up with a service dog, there's going to be a problem. And I would like to be assured right now that I will be able to rebook my tour. I think The disabled person with the service dog should have to rebook their tour because there are alternatives to service dogs. I am a disabled person with no alternatives. What is the alternative to avoiding dogs? There is none. And the woman was very, very friendly, very kind, very understanding. And she said, absolutely, that will be no problem. She didn't even ask me for my therapist's number. But that made me feel really good. I felt like that was a little victory. And I feel that if I am ever going to book a flight or anything, if I'm going to go anywhere where I'm going to be in an enclosed space, a confined space, I should say, and there's a possibility of a quote unquote service dog being in that space, then I have just as much of a right, because I am disabled. By definition, I have a mental disability. Then I should have the right to avoid the presence of a dog, just as much of a right as these people have to bring their dogs with them everywhere. The same can be said of people with allergies or phobias. It is time for us to take a stand and demand the rights that we deserve. We are disabled, and there's no shame in that. A person with a disability is someone who has a physical or mental impairment that seriously limits one or more major life activities. Because of the dog menace, we are physically, emotionally, and mentally impaired. How come we don't have the right to be in a dog-free space? This should be a right that we have, but we don't. So we need to pressure the ADA somehow. We need to pressure them the same way that these dog lobbyists did when they were coming up with their laws, right? How are we going to do that? Do we start petitions? I don't know. But if these people are going to claim that, they're disabled because of whatever reason and they need their dog, well, I'm going to say I'm disabled. I am a conscientious, law-abiding citizen. I have empathy, I have awareness, and I am informed. And yeah, that causes me emotional distress. It should cause anybody in their right mind to experience emotional distress. But the thing is, people are not in their right minds. They are brainwashed by the dog lobby to believe dogs are great, and they don't see dogs for what they are. They anthropomorphize them. I mean, see my other videos, please. They don't see them for what they are. I have had a number of people thank me for my channel, and they told me that my channel opened their eyes, and they now see dogs for what they are. And when you see dogs for what they are, you do not want to be around them. They do not belong in any public space. So, my question to you is, how are we going to get the ADA to change the laws to include us and to grant us the right to dog-free spaces? And are you going to have the courage, the will, maybe, to tell airlines and wherever you're going, if you're going on a tour or whatever, tell them that you are disabled because you have, I would say, use the term phobia or allergy. Both are recognized as disabilities under the ADA. So is PTSD. These people are lying to get their dogs into their apartment buildings. You'll find websites, forums where people are asking, how did you lie to your landlord to get him to accept your emotional support animal, this and that. They're going to lie and deceive. Well, maybe we need to do the same. See a professional, get a diagnosis for PTSD, even if you don't have it. Make up the symptoms. Tell them you've been attacked by a dog or you've witnessed a dog attack. Someone you love has been attacked by a dog and it's left you crippled with anxiety. There you go. Boom. You got PTSD. Now you can tell people, I have a disability. I cannot be around dogs. So why don't we have the right legally to dog-free spaces, this is beyond me. But that is what needs to change. And we have to use the same tactics these supposed disabled, because I think a lot of them are not disabled. I think that a lot of these people are just going through this certification process, getting their dogs certified as service dogs just so they can bring their pets with them everywhere. But we got to use the same tactics. Fight fire with fire. Say that we are disabled and demand the right to a dog-free space. If you've been seeing a therapist to help you cope with this dog menace, all the better. My therapist would back me up for sure. Dog culture depresses me greatly, just as I know it depresses you. I know many of you are struggling with depression and anxiety because of the dog menace. There's one thing here on this website that concerns me. Exclusions to the qualified disability definition. Neither deviant behavior, political, religious, or sexual, nor conflicts that are primarily between the individual and society are mental disorders, unless the deviance or conflict is a symptom of a dysfunction in the individual. That means that if my problem with the dog menace caused my anxiety, and not the other way around. Let's say I had an anxiety disorder that caused me to have trouble with dogs. That would be a mental disorder. But it is my conflict with society, my conflict with dog culture that is creating my anxiety and depression. They're telling me that that's not a disability. Can you believe this shit? According to Title II of the American with Disabilities Act of 1990, current or future interpretation. So future interpretation of psychological disabilities excludes common personality traits such as poor judgment or quick temper. I have neither poor judgment nor a quick temper, but I do have other traits such as fucking awareness, questioning, critical thinking, that they might say, that's just a personality trait, you don't qualify. Man, is that ever stupid? That is so wrong, and that makes me so upset. But this is something that is going to change. Like I said before, we are ahead of our time. Society needs to catch up to us. Laws are always changing in accordance with the changing attitudes and values of society. Once awareness is raised, people's values will change, and things that are acceptable today will no longer be acceptable in the future. So, what do you guys think about that? That's why I think it's good to stick with the term phobia, because that is recognized as a disability. Say you have a phobia, or an allergy, or PTSD because of a dog attack. These are all classified as disabilities. So that's it. I guess that's all I wanted to say. So thanks for listening. Please share your thoughts below. We really need to set this ball in motion. We need to be angry. We need to collectively say, we're not going to take this anymore. We need to stand up to these people. Like I said, fight fire with fire. Use their same tactics against them. Thanks for listening, everybody. The future is dog-free. And by the way, there were no dogs on my boat, and I had a wonderful whale watching experience.